Okay guys, this video is just a little preparation for the Unit 4A test that you will take the next time I see you. Please excuse the banging in the background. Doing this from home, and I got a friend renovating my downstairs, so excuse me on the loud banging or any noises in the background. Alright, so this unit is based on quadratics, and I do need to let you know, if there are any Ed puzzles that you missed and did not watch, you need to go back and watch them, or else this might be a bit confusing. So the first part of this is a four-part problem. You need to in letter A, it's asking, is the equation in standard form or vertex form? So in number 1A, we discussed that any time that you see the parentheses, that's vertex form. All right, so like number 2A, there's no parentheses, that's standard form. Now, does the parabola open up or down? That has to do with the A, or the sign right after the equal sign. So if we have right there where I just highlighted in orange, right after the equal sign, that A is a -5. So when the A is a negative, that means the parabola, if we were to graph it, would open down. Now looking at number 2, that's a +3, so that guy would open up. Okay, what's the vertex? Well, in number 1, it's very, very easy. So I'm going to write down the vertex equation. And remember that the vertex is HK. And it's written as an ordered pair. So in this problem, we would call it -9, 0. Remember that in vertex form, we say that the H is opposite, and the K is not, there's no K over here. There's nothing after the squared term, so that we would write a K of 0. The axis of symmetry, letter D, that is an equation. Please do not just write down the number. You got to write x equals and then the number. And what you just do is you use the x-coordinate, the first coordinate, from your vertex. So right above in letter C, you get that -9. So again, the axis of symmetry is an equation. Now, number 2, standard form, I'm in letter C, where I need to find the vertex. So to find the vertex, you need to use the little formula x equals -b divided by 2a. That -b means it's the opposite of whatever b is. So the b is -12, so we will use opposite of that, +12. In other words, the negative in the formula cancels with the negative in front of the 12. Double negatives make a positive. And then the a here is 3, so on the bottom it'll be 2 times 3. We multiply in the bottom to get 6, and then divide. Now that's the x-coordinate of the vertex. I need to do a little bit more math to figure out what the y-coordinate is. So what I need to do is use my equation, and I'm going to plug in the 2 for the x's here and here. And I'm going to use the order of operations to get my y-coordinate. So some of you may use a calculator for this. That's fine. Just please make sure that when you're plugging in for the x, you use parentheses. So this would end up being 2 squared is 4. So 3 times 4 would be 12. This will be 12 times 2 is wrote the wrong thing, -24. And then plus 4, add your 3 numbers. That'll be -12 plus 4 is -8. So negative 8 is the y coordinate. So now my vertex is x, or sorry, my vertex is 2, negative 8. I was actually thinking ahead to my axis of symmetry, which would be x equals 2. Again, x equals, and then use your x coordinate from your vertex. Okay, let's do another one. Number 3. By the way, this video, I'm not going to cover every single problem. I'm just going to cover about 20 minutes of stuff that I think can get you some really easy points on the test. That stuff, little stuff that you may have forgotten, but again, should get you some easy points on the test. So again, here in number 3, there's the formula. And the vertex is HK. H is opposite, so it's 1, and the K is 4. Actually, I went out of order. That was supposed to go down here. A was supposed to be, is it vertex or standard form? I said whenever you see parentheses, it's vertex form. Letter B is, does it open up or down? The A term here after the equal sign is a positive number, therefore it's up. And then letter D, the axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Number 4, this guy gets a little bit confusing because there's only 2 terms. If I were to write this out, which term is missing? You got an x squared to begin the problem, but you don't have the x term. So we're going to call, or I should say the bx term you don't have. So we're going to call that 0x. And then minus 7, I know that's the c term because it does not have a variable. C does not have a variable. So going to letter A, we're going to call this standard form because there's no parentheses. Letter B, does this open up or down? The A term after the equal sign is negative, so that opens down. Letter C is the vertex. So since this is standard form, I'm going to use my little formula. Opposite of B divided by 2 times A. The B is 0. The A is negative 12. Whenever the B is 0, a numerator is 0, it's going to end up 0. 0 divided by negative 24 is 0. So now for the y coordinate, I'm going to take my formula. I'm going to say y equals and plug in the 0 in for the x. And 0 squared is 0. Negative 12 times 0 is 0. Minus 7 is negative 7. So there's my vertex. Now for my axis of symmetry, x equals 0. Okay, on the next page, describe the transformations when the graph is compared to y equals x squared. The directions sound very confusing here, but back a few sections ago, this was actually a really easy part. Remember, this is just saying, like, does it open up a number or down? Is it a reflection? Is A a stretch or a compression? Is it shifting left or right a number? All right, so this guy here, and by the way, these problems, we kind of view them in a way as vertex form. Now, this number 5, this plus 2, it's at the very end by itself. It's not in parentheses, so it could not be the H. It's not right after the equal sign, so it could not be the A. That guy is the K. In other words, it's kind of like the C. The K and the C are kind of the same thing. But anyway, since we view it like the K for this section, that has to do with up or down. So we would say this x squared plus 2 shifts up 2 units. And that's the only transformation that's in this problem. Now, number 6 has 3 transformations. I'm going to go left to right. Now, the first thing I notice, right after the equal sign is that A, that negative 1/3 is the A, and I notice that A is negative. When you have an A being negative, you can write reflection, which basically just says it opens upside down. So you can write reflection or opens upside down. If you look like right down here, that's what a reflection is. It's a parabola opening downward. The next thing is the A, as I said, is negative 1/3. So aside from the negative, that A being a 1/3, when it's a fraction between 0 and 1, like 1/3, 1/2, 3/5, that means this guy is called a compression. So remember, when A is between 0 and 1, we call it a compression. When it's a number greater than 1, absolute value greater than 1, we call it a stretch. You'll see that in number 7. And then the third thing in this problem is in parentheses, it says x minus 4. Whenever you have a number in there with the parentheses, that's the h. And the h, we call it the h because it actually stands for horizontal shift, meaning left or right. So with this guy in x minus a number is shifts right, and you got to put the number with it, shifts right 4. Anytime you say shifts up, down, left, or right, up, down, left, or right, you got to put the number with it. If it said like x plus a number, that would be a shift left. Okay, moving on to number 7, I have 3 transformations in this problem. The first thing I notice is the A is greater than 1. By the way, it's not the A is a positive. It opens up, so I don't have to worry about writing opens up. Like that's what the normal x squared would look like. We're just saying transformations that are different than our normal x squared. So anyway, the A here is 4. That's a number greater than 1. So that is technically called a vertical stretch, meaning if we were to graph this thing, it would appear narrower, but it's actually stretched upwards. So next up in parentheses is shift. Is it shift left or shift right? Remember, it's a horizontal shift. If you look back at number 6 where it said x minus 4, that was shifts right 4. So this guy would have to be shifts left 6. Shifts left 6. And then the last one in this problem is the plus 8. That's where the k is. It's very much like number 6 where it says that plus 2. Remember, the k has to do with up or down. So since it says plus 8, we're going to write shifts up 8. Shifts up 8 units. Okay, so in the next part, we're going to match the graphs to the equations. The trick for this is we can look at 2 things. We can look at what the vertex is and match it to the graph, and we can also look at what the A is to see if it opens up or down. Now, A, B, and C, I only have 3 choices. So if you take a look at A, it's the only one that's opening down. Notice which one has an A, B. Remember, opening down has to do with the A being negative. Of 8, 9, and 10, which one is the only one where A is negative? Number 10. So that matches with A, because this guy right here, the A is a negative, that means it has to open down. All right, so let's take a look at number 8 and 9. Now 8, what is the vertex here? See, we want to see which vertex match when we look at the graphs. So the vertex here, remember HK, we would say -2, and the K is not there, so it's 0. So which of these has a vertex of -2, 0? It would be letter B. It's the only one with -2, 0 as its vertex. And that obviously narrows us down to number 9 being C. Its vertex, by the way, would be 0, 2. But with certain things, you could just use process of elimination. Just bouncing around a little bit. All right, going back up. So there's unfortunately only 17 problems for the review. Wish there were a little bit more, but oh well. The test isn't going to have a ton of problems on it. So in number 11, we're going to graph the following equations. So this guy is in vertex form. So the vertex is -3, -1. So we're going to plot that. Remember, after the plotting the vertex, you should plot the axis of symmetry. Remember, the axis of symmetry is a vertical line. It's got to cut through the vertex, and it just separates the left side from the right side. So now after that, we need some points. So we need to go to the table of values. You have to carefully choose your x values. Remember to do that, you look here first. Since that guy is -3, choose the 3 numbers that are after -3. -2, -1, and 0. And what you need to do next is you're going to be using the equation 3 times, and you're going to plug the x in each time and solve for the y. You could either use mental math or write down your work on the paper, or use the calculator. But I do need to see the table filled out to receive the full points on the test. You can't just do a rough sketch. All right, so -2 going in for the x in the formula. So I'm carefully using order of operations. So parentheses comes first. Add in the parentheses. And then exponent after parentheses. 1 squared is 1. Carry over the -1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So I have my first point, -2, 0. Now I'm going to go with -1 into my formula. For x. And I'm just going to do the same order of operations again. Add in the parentheses. Exponent 2 squared is 4. And 4 minus 1 is 3. And then finally, I'm going to hit up the last one, 0's going in for x now. In the parentheses, 0 plus 3 is 3. Then it's 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 1, 8. So we can plot those points. You got -2, 0. You got -1, 3. And you got 0, 8. And then we want points on the other side of the axis of symmetry to get, so it forms a nice, it's got to form a nice symmetrical parabola. So we need a point over here, and then over here, 2 from the axis, and then up here, 3 from the axis. And you can see it forms a nice parabola. So we're going to draw it, make sure it has a nice curve around the vertex. And there you go. Make sure with your parabola you draw it to the edge of the graph, and yeah, just draw it to the edge of the graph. It is supposed to have arrows, but I'll admit sometimes I forget to do that. All right, I am cutting out of time here. I only wanted to keep this to about 20 minutes. If you guys have any further questions, you can request a Zoom meeting with me. That's if I don't see you in class. So anyway, just want to run down here to 13 and 14. Please be careful here when you're hitting up these problems. They have inequalities. Okay, so remember the first, if you look at 13, that's greater than. Remember, that's going to be a dotted line. 14 has an underline, that's going to be a solid line. And remember, I need to see shading there. Number 13 is a greater than, that's shade above. Number 14 is a less than or equal to, that's shade below. So please make sure you're being very careful on the test. Shade when you need to. But, you know, one thing I do also want to point out, if you go back and look at 11 and 12, they have equal signs. All right, so please make sure on like numbers like 11 and 12 that have equal signs, please don't put shading. So be very careful with that. All right, going to end the video here. Hopefully you guys are studying hard, and good luck.